Hey guys, how you doing? Chris here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I'm not seeing too much content about, and that is Berklee Online. Is it something that you might want to do for yourself? And I think the only way I can really explain Berklee Online and why I went through it is by just kind of talking about why I chose to do it, what exactly made me go, hey, this will be a really good idea. And maybe by discussing my story, you can make decisions based on that for yourself. So, uh, really, for me, I really didn't know what I wanted to do early on in my college life. I kind of was a little lost with that. I didn't have a great college experience, and I wasn't sure of going the academic route with music was something I would want to do at all. So by the time I finished college, I was kind of thinking about going, okay, I did the thing that maybe my parents might have wanted me to do. Now I want to do something for myself, and I thought about just trying to attend Berklee College of Music, like the actual school, and going there. And as I was doing my research and looking it up, I realized, whoa, that's a lot of cash that I don't have. And the idea of taking out giant loans for something that rather a difficult career route, where usually it takes a long time for big bucks to come through for you to pay off student loans, was just not something I wanted to really go through. I've just had too many horror stories of friends and their friends having these giant loans, so I kind of backed out. I chickened out, I guess. But here's the thing: I was already a full time musician around the time I was thinking of Berklee College of Music. I'm from New York, so there's a lot of opportunity here. I was already involving myself in session work. I was already um, teaching privately in person, and then as the internet got better, Skype. So I was making an income at this point with music. So my situation, your situation might be very different. You might be someone who works a day job, a full time day job, or a part time day job, and you might have a family, maybe kids or something like that, and you have to balance a lot. So whatever I say, if it doesn't pertain to you, you're gonna have to take your own situation into consideration. So here's the thing for me. Why did I decide to say, okay, let's check out Berklee Online? Well, once I found out there was an online program that you can go through, I got really excited about it because one, I didn't know this existed. Um, they're not great, at least at that point. They weren't that great of advertising the fact that they have a whole online system. Now, the online program, you can go for a full degree, and I think you could go for a master's there too, depending. I think it's very limited though in terms of the program you can do with that. But you could also go for certifications, and if I remember correctly, it's two levels of certification. I believe it's advanced certificate and then like a professional certificate, which I got the professional certificate. And the reason why I got the professional certificate is because the program I did only offers that. If they had the advanced, I would have done the advanced. So let me talk a little bit about why I decided with Berklee Online. Now, first of all, I was at a point in my music career where I just wasn't feeling that great about my playing. I was kind of having imposter syndrome, and if you don't know what that is, essentially you feel like despite how much you work at something, you feel like you don't deserve any successes that you get, or you feel like what you're doing is kind of hacksy, even if that's not the case. So that's like a self-doubt thing. It sucks. I'm sure many players go through that. And I wanted to prove something to myself. Now, I never got the opportunity to go to Berklee College of Music, like I said, because it's just a lot of money. A lot of money, not just the college itself, but living expenses being in Boston. Um, but I wanted to see, hey, if I went through the material, could I handle it? Because at this point, I didn't know what exactly that encompassed. Like, I have friends who are in Berklee, and at this point, some of them have graduated. Congratulations. Um, but the only thing they've ever told me about it is that if I had gone, I'd be fine. I'd be just fine there, and that's all I got out of it. For me, I didn't know if the material was something insane or like, it was a lot of mysticism surrounding it. So when I decided to sign up for Berklee Online, I did it 6 months prior to the fall semester. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to prepare for it. I wanted to go into this thing where at least the first semester or two was something that I could get the most out of, because I wasn't focused too much on more foundational beginner type things. I'm wearing a compression glove, by the way. It mitigates fatigue in the hand. Having that prep time was really important because I overthink everything. Just how I am. I can't help myself. So what I ended up doing, and this is kind of nice because I'll give you some of the courses I did, the private stuff like the DVDs and online streaming courses that I did to prepare for this. So first of all, I was going in for the jazz guitar professional certificate. I was already kind of playing fusion and trying to get better at playing over changes and all that complicated stuff. So for me, one of the first things I did was I made myself like my own 6 month like semester practice routine thing. So some of the people I looked at was like Levi Clay's Chord Encyclopedia 1 and 2. By the time I got to the fall semester, I think I had been almost done with Encyclopedia Part 2, which covers triads and seventh chords and different voicings and versions of those on different string sets. So I wanted to make sure like that stuff felt pretty good. Not perfect, but I can find things quickly. The other thing that I was doing a lot of was technique work. So I had like Rick Graham material, because Rick Graham is a beast. So I was going through a lot of legato and picking techniques. The other thing that I did was David Beebe's Pathways to Jazz Part 1, which was covering essentially what it is that you visualize the guitar neck in intervals against a root note. And it's pretty much broken up into, I believe, 48 little shapes, where it sounds like a lot, but it's actually not, where you can find, like, say, if you're on a root note, you can find the third, you can find the fifth in all directions very quickly. It's just a complete visualization process, so that when you see chord changes in any key, you don't have this issue of being lost, because it's so general it's such a general piece of information that it works as you're moving from root note to root note and visualizing from that root note. And to this day, I still use that system in amalgamation with other things that I've been doing, other approaches that I've been doing. So I spent 6 months preparing like crazy. And this is quite an important thing, because I thought that Berklee Online was going to be really tough, like in a good way though, but like really tough. So when I got into the fall semester and I started, here's basically the breakup of the program. You have with the jazz guitar program, and that's the only thing I could talk about because I don't know anything else about, say, the music production side of the programs or the full-on guitar playing course that they have there. I specifically went for a certificate. I didn't go for a full degree because I didn't want to spend the next like few years taking some classes that I knew I would never really use the information from it. But the jazz guitar program is broken up into essentially 5 classes. You have Guitar Chords 101, Scales 101, Jazz Guitar 101, Guitar Chords 201, which deals with inversions and chord melody, and Jazz Guitar 201. And what I'd like to do with each one of these courses is just kind of talk about what I liked and what I disliked. Now, remember, my situation could be different from your situation, where things that I didn't like, you might love because of just where you are in your journey. For me, there were things I simply just didn't think were good methodologies, but I'm still happy I went through with it. I'm still happy that I did it. So let's talk about Guitar Chords 101. So 101, Guitar Chords 101, is how it sounds. It talks about, things like triadic chords, essentially cage system kind of shapes, different string sets. And some of these were, even though I had encountered them already with my preparation for this, some of the chord progressions using some of these voicings were kind of tough on the hands. They were kind of rough, especially with the weaker pinky. It was challenging. It was quite challenging, and the professor I had for that was Bruce Saunders, who, if you don't know anything about him, he's an amazing jazz player. Amazing jazz player. I enjoyed that course quite a bit because there was a lot of fun chord progressions there. There were some voicings that I didn't even realize were a thing, and I really enjoyed learning them, and it was just really fun. And there's not much more to really say about that. It was enjoyable. As far as assignments are concerned, how it's broken up is that you have weekly assignments. In the middle of the week, or the beginning of the week, you tend to have like a streaming session with your professor, where everyone can kind of come in as a class, ask questions, and just get some extra information from the course material of that week, which is nice. So you still kind of get that interaction with people, because that is a thing that is quite different from going to the physical schools, that you do kind of lose out on that side of networking, where you can essentially meet a bunch of people, and you form these bonds and these cliques that you can then carry into music productions and gigs and such down the road. Being able to kind of still interact with people is really good. Now, you do come from all walks of life, different time zones, different age groups. There were people who were 20, there were people who were 50, and everything in between, coming in with different situations in their lives. So if you feel like age or anything like that is going to hold you back, don't. Everyone's there. Everyone's hanging out. But the thing is, because there's so many different age gaps and just different life situations, where some people are kind of doing this for funsies, and some people are doing this because they really want to pursue music but they can't go to the school, it's a little harder to find that niche network that you might want to be like, hey, let's talk outside of this program, let's do stuff on social media and stuff. It's a little harder to do that, but it's very plausible, very much there. I had no issues with Guitar Chords 101. I really enjoyed it. Bruce Saunders is a very fun teacher. I have heard that some people think he's a little rough, but I think he's just straight to the point. So yeah, with that said, let's check out Guitar Scales 101. So here's the thing with 101. For me, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan at all. So here's the thing, and I know I might be jumping back and forth. I haven't scripted any of this. I'm just kind of doing this off of my memory. It's been a year since I've been out of Berklee Online. Guitar Scales 101 is... I don't like the teaching methodology of scales most of the time. I don't like how it's always these giant kind of 3-note per string shapes. Where a lot of the assignments were like, here's your scale of the week, or essentially that. Here's your scale of the week, and here's this really generic kind of lame backing track. Play your scale over that, and that's not good. That's not good. It's just too surface level. And again, I think the reason it was like that is because this is a general class. So for someone who is specifically doing something for, like, say, jazz, where we kind of start scoping in a little bit more, I was really bored. And the other side of it, it's like I had already done all the scale work here with this. I always like to play scales in many different ways, like the same scale in many different ways as possible, to take out blind spots in my playing. And this methodology of like 3-note per string, giant chunks, and then play it over some backing track was kind of lame. It really was. I don't know if I think they gotta change something with that, in my personal opinion. At the very least, if you're gonna start out with showing the scale, the next week should be about that same scale, but then zooming in more about it. And mind you, these courses are all 12 weeks. These are 12-week courses. It could be done better, in my opinion. So, for me, here's the thing that was happening in that class. It would be something like, this week is Dorian mode or something like that. And then here's this backing track that is sort of kind of Dorian, maybe. Just play your Dorian scale over it in solo. And when I would try to do that method, before I even submitted the assignment, I'd hate it. I'd be like, this sounds like all over the place. It sounds too noodly. It has no direction. There's no phrasing. They're not even talking about phrasing with the scales or anything like that. But when I went back to the more interval-based method, where I literally was kind of targeting chord tones, as usually these were like one or two chord vamps, as I was targeting more and then kind of plugging in the very specific intervals of that particular scale of the week, it would sound like something like musical. It would sound quite nice. It would sound like there was direction. And what ended up happening is that when you submit assignments, everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. So everyone can see it and hear it. You can submit video or you could submit just audio. At the time, I was always doing video synced with audio. And what started happening is that my teacher would comment, and this was Dan Bowden for this one, and the first like 2 weeks were, man, this is exactly what we want from Berklee students. This is a shining example of this, which is nice. Pat myself on the back, whatever. But what kept happening is after week after week after week, by me doing my own methodology from what I had already learned, those comments from him were getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and turning more into "good job, A," and that was it. There's no critique there, because I think he figured, this is a little bit, this is a little bit like under my scope at this point. Like, I mean, and again, I don't say that to be like, it's just what it was. Again, I had studied extensively beforehand, so I think that taking that into consideration, that's why I didn't enjoy this class so much. And I had other students in that class messaging me going, why do you sound so musical? And I just sound like I'm just flailing on top of this thing. And I understood that because I had been there before. And this class is okay. If there's some scales in there that or modes from particular scales that you might not understand, and you'll get something out of it for sure. Like, there's things with harmonic minor at the time that I was like, oh man, I don't really use this a lot. This is nice. But other than that, for me personally, I didn't like this class as much. I think it pushes the 3-note per string thing a little too much. But whatever. Let's check out the next thing. So the meat, we're starting to get into the nitty gritty here of the jazz guitar program by finally having a jazz guitar class. So Jazz Guitar 101, I dug it a lot because that's what I came here for. The other classes, they were cool. They're all right. Scales 101, not so much, but like it was something. It was something. Jazz Guitar 101, I really liked. There was a lot of looking at tunes and snippets of tunes, and they would have slowdowns for some of the songs, so you can kind of pick out the heads of tunes or the melodies of the tunes. That was really informative, and I really did enjoy that a lot. Again, this one, Bruce Saunders was the professor for this. And one of the funny things that I enjoyed with Bruce here is that whenever we had like a tune where we were supposed to play like the head of the tune, and then do like a solo over like one chorus of the form, the dude would like literally in real time, as he's like critiquing your thing, because he would do audio critiques, he would literally play back your lines at you, which was hilarious to me personally, because I'm a jerk and I used to go to like Guitar Center or something like that and do that to people in the shadows and just play things back at people. So he would literally just play back my own lines at me, and I found that really entertaining, and I found that really funny. And he was always available to for questions on like how to approach certain things. But Jazz Guitar 101 for me really was eye-opening. was eye opening. Um, it made me realize how much I suck at swing feel in that moment in time. Because and I don't think I was the only one. Um, a lot of people were playing like dotted eighths and not like swung eighths, and it's crazy how you can accidentally fall into that. Um, this course for me was definitely a highlight for sure, and I totally dove back into the material after I was done, because you have a year after you finish that particular class to go back in and look at the material again. But I've also downloaded tons of PDFs off of it to look at on my own. But yeah, that was really fun. So next class then. So Guitar Chords 201, which deals with chord melody and inversions. This one was taught by Rick Peckham, which I think at the time he was the chair of the guitar department or vice chair. I don't remember. But this course, there were things in it I really liked. I really did. I loved some of the chord melody pieces. Amazing Grace was one of the first ones that we learned, and I really enjoyed that. And for me, chord melody is such a liberating way of playing. It's something that I work really hard on to this day. And and the inversions. So in this case, you're working less with triads and more with seventh chords, so because you're dealing with more extended harmony here. The problem I had with this class, not to get down on it, because there's a lot in it I really did like, is that the consistency week by week was all over the place. It felt like they were just trying to stuff as much into the 12 weeks with this class as possible, but not in a cohesive manner. Because one week you would be looking at this, you'd be looking at, say, like harmonizing like melodic minor, right? So you would think that the next week you would be discussing maybe playing some kind of piece with those chords, maybe using it like substituting into a chord progression or something like that. And that wasn't the case. What you would do this harmonization of melodic minor, and then the next week you would be looking at like I don't know, like flamenco finger style picking, and it's like, wait a second, we just did like all this stuff last week, why are we jumping to this thing here? And that kept happening over and over and over again, and it was like, yeah, but we just finished talking about harmonizing this. Can we do something with it now? Like, is there what was the point? Like, show me the musical point here, show me a piece of music that does this. And that fell short for me because of that. That really did. What can I say? Again, I'm talking off of my memory here, because it's been, again, over a year for some of these things. I think that needs cleaning up. I do. But when you are looking at doing harmonization of the scales, when you are actually playing pieces that have chord melody and they're showing you bit by bit how to build that out, that's wonderful. I really like that. But when you just start throwing things from left field that has nothing to do with any of that, I just go, why? Don't stay focused. It's like, pay attention here. So for me, that class was hit or miss depending on the week. What can I say? Let's check out the next one. Jazz Guitar 201, Advanced Jazz Guitar Improvisation. At this point, and especially the way I had it staggered for my schedule, is that I was now in January of 2019. I had taken no breaks. I had just gone semester. At this point, I was getting burnt, but I was really looking forward to this one, because this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted things where, like, how do I approach improvisation? How do other people approach improvisation? What exactly counts as improvisation? Because clearly improv isn't just making things up. It comes from somewhere, right? There are, despite the fact that there are we like to think that there are no rules in improv. There's guidelines at the very least, and maybe some rules that you bend here and there, but how do people do it? And that's what I was curious most about. And for me, again, this is a class by proctored by Bruce Saunders. For me, this class was really fun, really, really fun. Especially now looking back at it, as I've looked at other approaches for things and realized, hey, some of these later approaches that I'm looking at were in my class already from back then. Oh my God. So it's like I appreciate it more now than I did at the time. So this class, again, 12-week course, we were doing a lot of soloing over changes. I think I don't remember, but I think we might have started with like chord types, maybe I don't really recall too much in that sense, but we were playing actual tunes and trying to improvise a certain particular concept of that moment, where like you'll get this piece where you have to arpeggiate in a certain particular way, like there'll be tabs for that and notation for that. You arpeggiate the tune a certain way, or you play like a chord scale for each chord in a certain way that's already tabbed out for you. And then the second chorus, you improvise. And for some of these things, you could choose not to improvise. Maybe you don't feel ready, or you know, a little weird about it, because again, everyone sees it or hears it. Everyone sees and hears it. So you can opt out, but for the bonus, you can improvise the second chorus around or something like that. And then there were things like approaches from real players, like, you know, we would look at like Schofield or like Charlie Parker. You know, you'd listen to like real players, not just from way back when, but also here and now. And I did appreciate that. Now, I think there was only one time I had like a gripe. Only once, and that was when we were using pentatonics to kind of generate a particular tonality over chord changes, where every time you change to this next chord, you change your pentatonic scale, and my mind hated that. My mind did not like that. It's very indirect from the interval method that I had trained myself for. Now I can see that. Now I understand that, and now I can kind of call that up pretty well. But at the time I was like, whoa. I was trying to go with the path of least resistance, and that was a lot of resistance for me. And I actually did in the moment ask Professor Saunders. I was like, I don't really like this. Am I crazy for not really liking this? Because I don't feel like I would really do this in real life. And he actually admitted, yeah, you probably really wouldn't do that, but it's just a way to maybe have a thought process in throwing up a particular sound over a chord. And I get that now. Now that I've sat here and done superimposition and stuff like that, and how you can really generate these more outside or more like tension-based kind of ideas. I get it now. You know, I really appreciate that in the here and now. So that's essentially how the 5 courses were broken up. Now, there are things about this I do want to talk about. For everything that I didn't like, there was more that I enjoyed, for sure. But here are some things that you might want to take into consideration with dealing with Berklee Online. The first thing being is that it is still expensive. It's not nearly as expensive as, say, dealing with going to the school itself, because after all, not only do you have the tuition there, you also have to think about the fact, are you dorming there, or are you renting out apartments or something like that outside the school? You have to still pay for food and any transportation. It's a lot. Can it be worth it? Absolutely. If you bust your butt, totally. But it's really hard. It's something you have to be very real with yourself about. The other side of this is that what you put in with these courses, and this is true of going to any music school, is what you get out of it. So I saw people coasting through, and they weren't getting a lot out of it. And I saw people really trying and really breaking their butt and really asking questions, and those people did really well. And you know, I practice this material a lot, and I also practice like material outside of this to kind of bolster this at the time. You gotta put the work in. but again, this it's rather difficult depending on your life situation. So you're gonna have to be like, hey, I have to make a schedule of some sort and try to abide by this to kind of make sure I'm covering my grounds there. So the thing is with this, I at this moment in time, I don't think they've changed this, but you could go for a full degree. You could totally go for a full degree. If you choose not to and you just want to do a certification or a specific thing, that's cool too, because everything you take can be transferred into a degree if you decide to go back and finish. Now, this is only online. This is not going to the school, because the school you have to audition for and all that. When you do this online, everything that you've taken, if you want to go for the degree later on, it's there. You can have it. Now, the other side of this that I think is a little weird personally is that if you go for a degree online and you're doing extremely well in the courses, there's no like outside of like learning this stuff and doing well for yourself, there's no other incentives. In other words, there's no scholarship for you. I don't understand why this is the case, but there is nothing there that will make you go, if I really bust my butt, maybe they can help me out with the cost of some of these classes, or at least one of these classes or something like that. I don't understand that personally, like why that is, but when you go for a certification, there is a scholarship in place that you can get. But there's also a caveat to that. To get the scholarship, you have to complete at least one semester. You have to be recommended by one of your professors. And obviously you have to be doing really well. And it's only given to 16 people per semester. It's kind of it's kind of tough, right? I hear that like for people that Bruce Saunders has recommended, most of those people do get it. I got it my second semester in. Because I bust my butt. And I tried to stand out. And how I tried to stand out was by doing videos with audio sync. I try to make it as professional as, say, if I were putting this on YouTube or social media. So it could be worth it to just do that little extra, even though it would take me longer to get my assignments submitted. I think it was worth it. So the other side of that, though, the other problem with that is that let's say you decide I'm going to do this certificate program. If you pay in advance, whether that's out your pocket or you take a loan, you get discounted. So you get incentivized to pay all at once. You get a chunky discount. The thing is, if you get a scholarship, you cannot use that as like cash or anything. You can only put that towards a future course. So if you had not paid in full and gotten a scholarship, you could have then used that money to pay for at least one of your courses for maybe the next semester. So as of right now, I have scholarship funds, credit, if you will, sitting there. I don't know if I'm going to go back to Berklee Online at any given point in my life, but it's there. It's there. It doesn't expire. It's there forever. So that kind of sucks, because I would rather them just give me the money, as greedy as I sound. I could use that for gear or something. But that's something to think about. It's kind of lame. A good strategy you could probably have is start with a certificate, see if you can get like a scholarship, and then if you want to go for the full degree, then you could put it towards one of the classes in the full degree. But I think that I wish you could kind of like, I don't know, get credited back some money, or like just get like cash or something like that. I don't know. It's okay though. But the thing is with Berklee Online is it worth it? Yeah, I think if you put the time into it, it's totally worth it. Are there things I like about it? Absolutely. I loved a lot about it. Are there things I don't like about it? Definitely. There are things I didn't like, unfortunately. But that's just the way of most things in this world, right? no matter what, it's never been, I never thought of any of this as a waste of time, because it teaches me what I like, what I don't like, and sort of things that in the future, as I teach my own students, to avoid maybe this particular methodology, but encourage this other methodology because of things from Berklee Online. I think you just have to kind of just self-reflect, and just see if this could be something for you. Again, I can only speak about the jazz guitar program. There is a general guitar program which includes things like acoustic playing and such like that. I'm not going down that route, so for me, going back and doing a full on degree doesn't make sense. But I might do like a one off course with the money. And by the way, when you finish, they give you like $100 credit. I think, but I think about $100 or $200, something like that, where you can then put it towards a future course. So they try in that sense. Yeah. So I mean, that's all the time I really have for this video. If you have more questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. If you're enjoying these videos, please like, subscribe, all the good stuff that keeps channels afloat. And check out some of my other videos that are lesson based and some that are playing. Until next time, bye bye.